Well, welcome to everyone. We are so excited that you joined us to learn about this incredible adventure to the Northwest Passage with Aurora Expeditions. They are a fantastic expedition cruise company, and we can't wait to share with you about our experience with them and why we've chosen to partner with them for both this Northwest Passage cruise. And we're also, we'll mention at the very end, we're doing Antarctica with them in 2026. So I want to go ahead and do some quick introductions. I'm Suzanne Klasen. My husband, Steve, if you could say hello, Steve.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
My husband, Steve, and I own the CruiseOne travel agency in Sholo, Arizona. And we also have our business development manager and office manager joining us on the call, Lauren Klasen. So if you could just say hello, Lauren, so we can put a name to a face.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and then we have Julia with Aurora Expeditions. So if you can just say hello and introduce yourself. You're still on mute, so you have to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Loria. I'm based in San Diego. I'm French originally, but I speak French, English, and Spanish, so we'll be able to answer in any language if needed.
Okay, and Lauren speaks a little German, so we'll have a multilingual Q&A here. All right, well, let's get going. We've got a lot of material to go through. So our presentation tonight, we're going to talk about the conquest of the Northwest Passage. Hopefully that will get you excited about why it's such an amazing thing to be able to sail the Northwest Passage. We'll tell you just briefly a little bit about our agency and how we work. And then Julia is going to share with us the Aurora Expeditions experience, what makes them the best company for you to travel with for your next expedition cruise. We'll talk a little bit about our itinerary, and then we'll have some of our exclusive pricing and offers. So let's get going. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with what an expedition style cruise is, I have this little graph. So if you could think about what a traditional cruise, and I have done tons of these, thousands of fellow guests, you have very short stays in port, you have, of course, over the top entertainment like Broadway shows and cabarets, and you have formal nights and elegant nights and evening chic. And basically, you're on a floating resort, or in some cases, it's like a floating amusement park. And if you go to remote destinations like Antarctica, which we've done twice with Celebrity, it's only scenic sailing in those remote destinations. So an expedition with Aurora is completely the opposite of that. You have less than 120 fellow guests. You're sailing in this modern, purpose-built icebreaker ship, and you have complete immersion in the destination, day and night, all day long. It is all about experiencing that exotic location. And of course, they are completely focused on you seeing the wildlife and the beauty of that destination. So very different from a traditional cruise. Now let's talk about this destination, the Northwest Passage, and what makes it so special. So back in around the 1500s, everybody was trading with Asia. Everybody wanted the silk and the spices. And Christopher Columbus thought, if I can sail west instead of east, I can cut my time in half. He underestimated the circumference of the earth by about half. And because the Pacific Ocean is about half the width of the circumference of the earth. So explorers believed if they could find a northern shortcut to Asia, that it would be their shortcut to riches. Now, who were the first people to actually traverse the Northwest Passage? Well, it would be the ancestors of the modern Inuit, and even before them, there were Paleo Inuits whose civilization crossed that whole area, established a civilization, and then for some reason, maybe climate change, whatever it was, their civilization died out, and they were replaced in about 1000 to 1300 by the modern Inuits that occupy that space in Canada, Greenland, and Alaska now. They use dog sleds, boats, kayaks to generationally cross the Northwest Passage. And they used every natural resource available to them to build all of their equipment and to eke out a thriving life in this very, very harsh Arctic climate. So after Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, they started looking for that elusive Northwest Passage. And one of the very first ones to sort of look for it was John Cabot. He was under the English flag. He was looking for that shortcut to Asia. He did not find it. He just kind of charted the North Atlantic. And then Sebastian Cabot followed, going as far as the entrance to Hudson Bay. And then in the 16th century, explorers like Martin Frobisher, John Davis, they scouted the Arctic waters, still looking for the passage. And you know why they had so much trouble? Is because from 1300 to 1850, the Earth was in the coolest period, known as the Little Ice Age, in a 10,000-year period. So all of that area was just covered with ice. It was completely impassable. So because of that little ice age, it was kind of a non-fruitful try. Then Henry Hudson, we know that he failed. He just got stranded in Hudson Bay in 1610. And in 1616, William Baffin mapped out Baffin Bay, and Baffin Island, of course, is named after him. But he couldn't go any further because it was just ice everywhere. So the 18th century, there was a renewed interest in trying to find this elusive Northwest Passage. This was mostly driven by those commercial ambitions. We want that shortcut to Asia. We can save so much time. There was also on land, Samuel Hearne charted the Northwest Territories. It was easier to chart that area via land than it was on the treacherous ice. Then in the 1820s, there were more advances in mapping the Arctic waters, but in 1845, John Franklin expedition, he was on the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, which was probably appropriately named because those ships completely disappeared. Nobody but the Inuits really knew what happened to them. It's a very sad story. They all probably went mad from lead poisoning, and no one ever heard from them again. And it was a very, very tragic time to try to find the Northwest Passage. But guess who was the first one to do it? The legendary Roald Amundsen. And he was successful in doing it where others failed because he learned to dress in fur like the Inuits because it would keep you warm and dry. If you sweated in wool, it would just turn to ice and keep you cold. He also learned to hunt and fish from the Inuits. And it took him 3 years, but he was the first to traverse the Northwest Passage. And that happened between 1903 and 1906. So just as we're coming out of that little ice age. So in modern times, did we really need the Northwest Passage? Well, we built the Panama Canal in 1914. So that pretty much eliminated the need and the route. In 1954, that ship, the Labrador, was an icebreaker. It was a Canadian ship. It was one of the first commercial ships to traverse the area. There were some other ships that did it. The SS Manhattan did it. It was accompanied by 2 icebreakers. But since 2016, with the retreat of the Arctic ice, many expedition cruises have been offering this sailing. And in 2022, Aurora Expeditions, with over 30 years of experience in the polar regions, offered their first Northwest Passage on the Greg Mortimer. So here is a look at just some other achievements in the modern era. They have discovered the remains of the Erebus and the Terror. So that's also sparked interest in going back to this area. You can see the grave sites of some of the people on the Franklin expedition. And there's been many artifacts and they found out some different things. We have a GPS navigation on the ships. It's almost impossible to use magnetic navigation compasses because you're basically at the magnetic North Pole. So GPS helps a lot. And then being a P6 or Class 1A icebreaker polar ship with that X-bow technology, Aurora Expeditions is leading the way in technology in these polar regions. Here's a look at the itinerary, and I'll sort of explain it to you. That's kind of cut off, but Toronto is down here. So you need to fly yourself to Toronto, and I can help you with arranging those flights. And then there's a charter flight to Nuuk, the capital of Greenland. We'll spend a little bit of time going around just some different places in Greenland. Any place where you see a dotted line, that's going to be expedition leader's choice. They're going to pick the best experiences from their vast knowledge of the area and the sea and ice conditions and the weather conditions. Then we'll head over here to Pond Inlet. This is on Baffin Island. Head up here again, anywhere there's a dotted line, it's kind of an open expedition day, some different things that you can do. And then the cruise ship heads all the way down to Nome. You disembark in Nome and you fly to Anchorage where you'll fly home. So pretty easy to get there from almost anywhere in the United States. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Steve and I, because we are going to be your hosts. We have been wanting to do this cruise for years, and we saw the incredible pricing that they have going right now. And we said we need to go and we need to bring some people along with us. So we are all about crafting a vacation experience that is going to be exceptional for you. Each traveler is different, but we want to help you plan an unforgettable adventure that aligns perfectly with your passions and desires. So if seeing these incredible sights matches up with your desires, we want to help you do that. We've been doing this for 12 years. We have extensive experience in working with all kinds of cruise lines, and we ourselves are explorers at heart. We love planning these wonderful trips and also enriching your trip with little suggestions about hidden gems or remarkable discoveries. And basically, your dream is our mission. That's what we're all about, is making our clients' dreams come true when it comes to traveling the world. Now, here's a quick summary of our transition from cruisers to expeditioners. In the summer of 23, we had a traditional cruise that was scheduled to call on Longyearbyen, Svalbard. And we were going to sail up to the polar ice cap, and we were so excited about that. But the port was dropped because Norway passed some regulations that didn't allow the bigger ships to go up there. So we thought, well, that was kind of the one thing. So I looked at Aurora Expeditions and I was like, oh my gosh, honey, they have one that's all Svalbard. And so we booked it. We had the most amazing time. We took the plunge literally, and I'll have a picture of that, into expedition cruising. And since that time, we've done Canadian Arctic and Greenland, Galapagos, Iceland, and the South Pacific, and then this year, the Northwest Passage, and Antarctica next year. It really is a wonderful experience that we truly embrace. I never thought that it was really stepping out of my comfort zone, and boy, am I glad I did. So who can enjoy an expedition experience? Well, if you can play a round of golf, or maybe if you can shop till you drop on Black Friday, you can do an expedition. You need to be mobile, but you need to be average fitness or above. I mean, they do have activities for people who are really fitness nuts, but that's not me. You know, I'm carrying an extra 50 pounds and middle age. We started off on that Svalbard cruise doing the long hike, and we're like, no, I think we're gonna do the medium hike, and we're like, I think we're gonna be beachcombers, and we were perfectly happy. We did a little bit of everything. So, and the reason I want to share with you why we've chosen to partner with Aurora Expeditions for these polar regions, both this Northwest Passage cruise and with the Antarctica that we're doing next year, is first of all, we know that this is a big investment. This is not an inexpensive, 3-day cruise to the Bahamas. This is something that is going to be life-changing. It is going to take you to places that you could only dream about. It is going to be a totally immersive experience. And what am I trying to say? The destination is the focus with Aurora. So you are not going to miss out on anything because they are so focused in bringing you personally in contact with all those cultures, scenery, wildlife in the polar regions. We debated long and hard who to choose for our first polar expedition, and Aurora, when we chose them, they surpassed our expectations in every single area, and we are just so excited to work with them again on these two opportunities. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Julia, who is our Aurora representative, and she's going to tell us a little bit more in depth about Aurora Expeditions?
Firstly, thank you so much, Suzanne and Steve, for the opportunity to talk about our amazing product. It's a pleasure to be here today, and you chose an incredible itinerary. Our fleet is very recent. The latest ship that was built in 2019, the Greg Mortimer, and it was founded by our founder, Greg Mortimer, who's a very famous explorer in Australia. And he fell in love with exploring the polar regions. That first he wanted to share that passion with his friends and family. And then it grew into what Aurora is today. And now we're able to offer our passengers these types of experiences. And because it was founded by an explorer, we do have a different type of experience than your traditional cruise line. And as Suzanne mentioned, there's a big difference between an expedition and a cruise. And the fact that we're able to go off land as much as possible offers our clients very exceptional opportunities. Let me see if I can I change the slides on my end as well?
Yeah. No, I
Is that
have to do
possible?
it for you. I'll just keep going.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
start.
And as Suzanne mentioned earlier as well, we have been around for 33 years. So we're pioneers in the expedition space. I know today there's a lot of cruise lines that are now exploring expeditions. It's becoming more and more popular. The good thing about Aurora is we have 33 years of experience, and we're able to offer 2 to 3 landings a day, which is not common. And we really focus on adventure, discovery, exploration, also education. We have a lot of exciting conferences on board, from phenomenal guest lecturers, and our naturalist to guest ratio is 1 to 7. So that allows us to deliver very unique experience for our guests. We are also a B Corp certified expedition line. We're the only cruise line to be B Corp certified. It's a very strenuous process. And for example, just to give you an idea of every detail that's taken into consideration when we practice, for example, in our kitchen, only one dedicated person can go into the kitchen at a time so that we can make sure that the food stays fresh for the entirety of the cruise. And you'll see that reflected throughout the cruise. And we really make sure that our standards are high, and we take action to make sure that we protect the environment, whether that's on the ship or on land. And we'll talk more about some of the exciting activities that we do to give back, not just for the environment, but for the local communities. And on board, we have some incredible lectures and citizen science where we're able to learn more about microplastics and marine diversity and the phytoplanktons as well. We also are in partnership with Happy Whale, which is an amazing app that allows you to identify whales. And sometimes it's exciting. We're identifying whales for the first time. So if you get to do that, you get to name the whale. And we're also able to learn more about birds and weather patterns. And then we get our guests involved as well, which is exciting. It makes the trip more of a purposeful trip. And we have beach cleanup, so we're able to give back as well.
And I want to talk about that beach cleanup because we did it on our Svalbard expedition, and you wouldn't believe how much trash gets into the ocean, and it washes up on these beaches. And as visitors to these places, we haul that trash out. Otherwise, it would just keep accumulating. I remember one beach, there was a lot of fishing debris. There was a can of Russian air freshener that was on the beach. There was a lot of stuff that we picked up, and we'll be participating that in both Svalbard and Antarctica. And when you are doing expeditions, anytime anybody sees plastic or something in the ocean, they will fish it out. And it's one of the great things about being part of an expedition cruise is that you are an environmental steward while you are participating in the experience. And this is a picture of them doing the microplastic study. They're trying to decide how, we talk about the microplastics that they're getting in the ocean. What's the percentage? How much is getting it mixed in with the sand and those kind of things. So I really like the fact that you are exploring, but you also are being a steward and contributing to the positive health of the planet as well.
And we do offer a variety of included activities. We're a very active cruise, but again, we have options for everyone for every activity level, and you don't have to participate in all the activities. You can stay on board the ship and just attend the lectures or relax. And we do have zodiac landings, we have walks and hikes. Photography, there's always a photographer on board who usually has a lecture to give us tips on how to take the best photos, which is amazing when you get to see these kind of scenic landscapes or wildlife. You really also get to capture the moment with them, and then they go with us on board the Zodiacs. And then we can also invite them to dinner to join us so we can continue the conversations with them as well. The positive thing about being such a small cruise line is you get to know all the guests on board and the naturalists as well as the photographers. And then we have expert lectures. We also have our polar plunge, which is our signature polar plunge. As you can see in the picture, the person there is not tethered. I know Suzanne also has an amazing picture of her doing the polar plunge too. And then we have bird watching for our bird lovers, and we get to go to amazing historical sites. And sometimes these sites are hard to access, but because we're so small, we're able to go to such remote destinations. And the citizen science as well, we get to offer that as much as possible. When the weather is good and allows it, we can even do that every day. On my cruise, we were able to do that every day. We got to study the clouds. We got to study the wildlife, and then we got to even name a whale for the first time. So that was exciting.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes,
Yeah,
and all of
we
these
did some bird counts. We did some bird counts on our cruise as well. So these are some of the optional activities. Now, we don't, Aurora doesn't offer all of these in the Arctic, but in the Antarctic, depending on which cruise you take and what time of year, you can participate in some of these activities. In the Arctic, it is just the kayaking and well, there is hiking. There's of course hiking, but the kayaking is the main extra activity that you can do. And what makes Aurora different is that if you sign up for the kayaking, you basically sign up to do it every day where the weather and the conditions make it possible. You are fitted to your kayak with your dry suit and your little flap that fits over the kayak, and that is your dedicated kayak for the entire trip. And the people who do the kayaking, they have some of the most amazing experiences. I'll just toggle over to the next slide. There's our friend Bonnie, who also works for Aurora, and her kayaking day. So you can see it really is an amazing experience to do that kayaking. There'll also be some hiking. Now we are going to the Northwest Passage, which is actually a good portion of it is the polar desert. And we're going at the end of the summer. So you probably will not see snow like this. This is an Antarctica picture. But if you could just speak a little bit about the guides that you guys have on board and their experience.
Truly, they are the stars of the show. They're incredible, and you can see it. They're so dedicated. And my favorite part is Aura really understands that we want to deliver the best service possible. So we make sure that we rotate our staff. So they're always full of energy, and they're so passionate and dedicated. And you get to have dinner with them, learn from them. They're multilingual, and they're so knowledgeable too. It's amazing to learn about their different experiences and all the destinations that they've been to. And a lot of them have been with us since the beginning of Aurora. So it's amazing when you get to have the same expedition guide. And we do have diversity of gender. 25% are female expedition leaders and 47% female expedition team. Our team is diverse. We have marine biologists, geologists, historians, ecologists, glaciologists. We have experts in everything. And then sometimes we have also guest lectures depending on the cruise theme and interest.
Here's the two ships. Our particular Northwest Passage is going to be on the Sylvia Earle, which is named after marine biologist and oceanographer, Dr. Sylvia Earle. And then you can talk about the Greg Mortimer.
Yes, and Greg Mortimer is our Australian founder, and the Greg Mortimer ship is an ex-bow ship as well, just like the Sylvia Earle. It was founded in 2019, and Sylvia Earle, Dr. Sylvia Earle, she's still with us today. She's 90 years old. She's incredible. She's inspiring, and we actually even have a sailing this year where she'll be joining in the Arctic, and
Oh, wow.
it's amazing to have a special welcome on board from her. We share a little video, and I think that adds a lot to the experience, and it shows that Aurora is focused on people, whether it's the guests or naming the ships after people too.
Yeah, and in 2025, the third ship is
Yes.
coming into the fleet, the Douglas Mawson, and it is going to be doing both polar, and I think it's going to do some of the Antarctica from Australia, right? It'll depart from Australia to go to Antarctica.
We're also going to be using it to do the Med, and it's going to be doing Indonesia as well, Raja, Empat, so some brand new itineraries for Aurora. So we're very excited. We're growing. Our sales team has grown. Our fleet is growing. Our destinations are expanding, and it's all thanks to our guests. We've listened to their feedback, and now we're really trying to grow into what they want to experience. And sometimes those destinations are also a great way to experience the ship and the experience before taking the step to going all the way to a polar region. It's not for everyone. So it's a great way to experience us
Yeah,
first.
this is a great slide because if you notice the front of the ship, what does it remind you of? It reminds me of an orca, is what it reminds me of. And that is that Ulstein X-bow technology. This is actually designed for when you're going through rough seas. It cuts through the waves instead of bouncing off of it, kind of like an orca goes through the waves, or a dolphin through the waves. Now, the Sylvia Earle and the Greg Mortimer are sister ships, but there you can see there's a little bit difference. This expedition will be on the Sylvia Earle. There is a shorter one going around the same time that is on the Greg Mortimer. This is what your cabins look like. They're beautifully appointed. I mean, this is way better than that old Russian icebreaker that you guys used to use. These
And the
cabins,
storage space, I don't know if you can see in the photo, but there's a lot of storage space on each sides.
it was
I was
so
amazed by
comfortable.
that.
And the big screen TV, one night I was tired and I said, I'm just going back to the room watching movies. And it was great on the big screen. This the other thing that I love is the heated floors. So your socks, your gloves can get a little bit wet. You just take them off and put them on the bathroom floor and they are dry. And then also when you step out of the shower, you're not stepping on the cold ground. This is what the beautiful lecture hall on the ships looks like. Absolutely gorgeous. You see it has those beautiful soft kind of Arctic colors in the color scheme. This is a library. I think this is actually on the Greg Mortimer. But what's great is their library is filled with books about expeditions with all kinds of pictures and history. So if you want to go and read about the Roald Amundsen expedition, or any of those famous expeditions anywhere in the world, you can find a book on it there in that library. If you don't get enough exercise from the hiking, look, a full gym, you can get your workout in. And this is what I love is the dedicated mudroom. So what's so nice is that you have an emergency life jacket in your room, but your life jacket that you wear on the Zodiac, you can store it here in the mudroom. Your muck boots get stored here. You can even put your coat there. And then, by the way, they give you a complimentary coat. It's a 2-in-1 coat. So you don't have to haul all your gear back to your room. You can leave it all here and just put it on when they call you down to the mudroom. So that's a wonderful thing. There's a look at the Zodiacs that take you ashore. And there's the kayaking. Now some of the ships use this platform for the kayaking. I think the Sylvia Earle has a little bit different setup, but kind of the same idea.
Yes, it's just
And yeah, and what's the atmosphere like on board? Okay, do you see any tuxedos here? I think that the only tuxedos you see on Aurora are on the penguins when you're in the Antarctica. It's relaxed, it's casual. You've got a mix of all ages. You'll have groups, couples, seniors. grandparents with their grandchild, because they do welcome children. That you're not going to have very many, but you will see them. Older kids are welcome on the ship. Probably not on the 29-day Northwest Passage, but you do see them on some of the shorter cruises. And just talk a little bit about the Aurora difference, Julia.
Yes, so we have a positive impact on travel. We create long-term ambassadors for the planet. Our ships are small, so that allows us to go to remote places, but also the experience on board is more of a family type of experience. The minute you walk on board, they take your picture, and then there's a little poster with all the passengers' pictures, so you get to know everybody's names and faces, and you get to have dinner with everyone. And on one night, it's a crazy hat night, so everybody gets a hat, and you get to interact with really everyone on board because we're so small. And then our ships are purpose built, and the X-bow really allows for smooth sailings. A lot of people think the waters are very rough, but thankfully with new technology we're able to go over those waters in a much smoother way. And we have education and enrichment programs from really knowledgeable naturalists and geologists and experts on board. And we offer, for me, the biggest luxury is more time off ship, because when you go to these destinations, being able to see as much as possible is what you're going to remember in the end, in the long run, and making as much memories as possible. And more time off the ship allows you to do that. And we have a world-leading activity program. As mentioned earlier, when you sign up for kayaking, you don't just get to kayak once for 20 minutes. The kayak is yours, and you kind of form a community with the small group of kayakers, and you get to kayak every day if the weather allows it. And then our guides are experts, so it allows us to really learn from the best.
It's absolutely an amazing experience with Aurora Expeditions. So they are truly a great partner for us to partner with when we want to bring this kind of completely different destination immersive experience to our clients. So let's look a little bit more in depth at that itinerary. I showed it to you at the beginning. Now remember, an expedition this is a rough sketch. It's an outline. And we're going to talk about some things that you will probably do, or it might be a choice of things to do. So let's get going. So what kind of animals are we going to see? Well, if we are lucky, we will see polar bears. We definitely are in their territory. And we will be escorted all times ashore by polar bear guards, and they will brief you on how to do that. Whales, we'll have a chance to see belugas. They hang out in icy waters. There's also some bowhead whales that are really well adapted to the Arctic conditions, and we can sometimes spot them near the ice floes. Hopefully we'll see a narwhal. Narwhals, they're very closely related to the belugas, but they are the unicorns of the sea. They have the big horn on their head. So that's very exciting. There's also maybe a chance to see in some of the more open waters, humpbacks and minke whales. Seals, we can see ring seals, and they're on the ice floes. They are the primary lunch for the polar bears. So, it's circle of life, but sometimes you will see a polar bear on an ice floe eating lunch. And of course, that was a seal at one time. You might also see some bearded seals. They tend to go out on the ice floes and just bask in the sun. And fish, maybe we'll see some Arctic char in the rivers along the coastline and other cold water species. Now on land, we're going to have a chance to see some of these incredible animals as well. The large herbivores are going to include the musk oxen. These are actually prized for their meat by the Inuit people. They absolutely love them. They go hunting all the time for them. The caribou also prized for their meat among the Inuits. And there's a smaller subspecies called the Peary caribou that are adapted to these very, very harsh Arctic conditions. They're known for their seasonal migrations, and they can make the best out of really sparse vegetation. As far as carnivores are, we could be lucky enough to see Arctic foxes. We saw them in Svalbard. They are scavengers, and they kind of follow the polar bears and maybe sometimes eat the leftovers. And the neat thing about the Arctic fox is that their fur changes color. In the winter, they are white. And in the summer, they are brownish gray for their camouflage. So I'm going to zip through this, but so we start in Toronto. We arrive at Toronto Airport. We go to the hotel. We spend the night in the Toronto hotel. That is included with the price of your cruise. You're going to receive pre-embarkation information from the people from Aurora. You're going to get luggage tags for your suitcases. And we stay overnight at the Westin Toronto Airport Hotel. The next morning, we get up and we get on our charter flight and we fly to Nuuk, Greenland. This is the capital of Greenland. It's a charter flight, and we're going to embark on the Sylvia Earle. Now, she will be in port there. There might even be a couple places where we can port, but this is one of them because there is a pretty nice port there. So we will be able to walk onto the ship. We won't have to Zodiac onto the ship. We'll do our safety briefings. We'll have a welcome aboard meeting with the expedition team and the captain's welcome drink. Then we are on to Sissemuit. My Inuit pronunciation is horrible, so I'm just going to fake it. This is Greenland's second largest town, and it is 54 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. So there we are, already north of the Arctic Circle. I think Nuuk is right on or real near the Arctic Circle. But this is going to be a chance. We'll get to see some of the landmarks there. There's an old church with like a whalebone gate. There's a variety of trails if we want to go hiking in this area. There's going to be some scenic routes through town, the mountains. We'll get to chance almost every city, and I'm sure that this is no exception, in Greenland has a little museum. And this was home to the Sequaka culture. 4,500 years ago, those were predecessors to the modern Inuit. And they lived in this area for 2,000 years. And there was also the Dorset culture, which they think was pushed out by the modern Inuits and Thule culture. So lots of different peoples have actually lived in this area before the modern Inuits arrived. Then we'll go to Ilulissat. This is my favorite picture in Greenland. This is my own picture. It looks like something from National Geographic. I took it in 2023 when we were in Greenland. This is the ice fjord there, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a sight to behold, let me tell you. It is, I believe, 14 miles wide, and every day, like some incredible number, like 200,000 tons of ice flows into this fjord. It could be million, 200 million. It's some incredible, like ridiculously high number. So we'll get a chance to go to this area. We'll be able to see it. And then they will also have some local tour boats that will take us around to the area where you can kind of sail in between the icebergs that are grounded just at the exit of that fjord. We'll head on to that. This is one of those dotted line areas. It's going to be our West Greenland expedition area. So we'll see some traditional settlements. We'll see some of those iconic massive icebergs in the area. We'll have Zodiac cruises, hiking activities. We'll visit some of the small coastal communities. And for those of you that sign up for kayaking, it'll be a chance for you to paddle among the icebergs and maybe find some whales. Then we're going to have a day at sea, and this is always a lecture day. So I thought, well, maybe we'll talk about Will Amundsen on this day. So I put a picture of him in this picture. There he is, all dressed in fur, head to toe, ready to take on either the South Pole or the Northwest Passage. Next, we visit the Pond Inlet, and I'm not even going to attempt the Inuit name, but it is in the province of Nunavut, Canada. This is a place we're going to have beautiful scenery. We'll get to meet some of the local Inuits and enjoy their hospitality and have some experience with their local culture, their dances, their music, their stories and their legends, all really fascinating when you learn about the history of the Inuit. And then we head on to Devon Island. Again, I'm not even going to attempt the Inuit name, and Lancaster Sound. So this is our chance to do high Arctic exploration. We're at 75 degrees north. There's like a wildlife, basically a superhighway here. So a really good chance to see just some amazing exploration. And if you look at this picture, this is probably pretty representative at the end of the summer. It's not going to be covered in snow. It's going to be more of a tundra. We have days 13 to 17 are more expedition cruising. So this is expedition and captain's choice. They will pick some amazing experiences with us. And the following slides are going to display some of the things. So we might go to Prince Leopold Island. There's a bird sanctuary there. There are 500,000 nesting birds during the summer. I don't know if they'll still be there in August because they tend to nest earlier in the summer, but it is one of the most important bird nesting areas in the Canadian Arctic. This is also a chance to do that wildlife spotting. We can look on the sea ice and see if we see some seals or polar bears. So, just some amazing experience we can do during that day. We might visit Port Leopold. This is a historic barren bay on Somerset Island, the Franklin Expedition search. So they got lost in the winter of 1889. They have found the encampment and there are marked graves there for the explorers that lost their life. We might visit the Hudson Bay Trading Post, and this is the remains of a 1920s trading hut, an Inuit archaeological site. Again, unique landscapes, all kinds of interesting things to see in this area. We might go to Hazard Inlet. This was a former Inuit site, and on the beach there are remains of hundreds of bowhead skeletons scattered across the village and the beach. There's some excavated sod houses, and the sod houses were how the Inuit built their more permanent houses. We think of igloos for them, but they're actually sod houses where the walls are many, many feet thick with grass and mud. And that was the walls of those houses. And again, we'll see some cultural artifacts, burial grounds, caches, remnants of old kayaks, just some interesting things, insight into those people that thrived in the Arctic. We might go to Point Zenith, and this is the most northern point in the continental North America. So that's another place to visit. And then again, on those expedition cruising days, we might go to King William's Island. This is again where there was a Franklin expedition remnants, and there's wrecks of the Erebus and the Terror. So we'll be able to see where those wrecks were found. Cambridge Bay, this is a key administrative and transportation hub in the high Arctic. It is sort of like the largest port in the Northwest Passage. So it's sort of the midpoint for ships that are journeying. There's Inuit settlements for us to visit, village, church, visitor center. And also if you want to support some of the local artisans. I mean, I'm sure a local artisan made this beautiful sign marking their place. So it might be a chance to purchase some really unique artwork made by the local people. Again, we've got flexible itineraries. We've got day 18 through 22. We're going to be in the Coronation Gulf and the Amundsen Gulf. A lot of flexibility. There's a chance to see falcons here. We could visit Edinburgh Island, where there's lakes in the sea and mountains. Explore the tundra. We could start to see autumn colors at this point. There's rivers, lakes, sedimentary rock formations. I mean, and then this is the interesting thing. There's this place called Smoking Hills, and it is a multicolored sea cliff with sulfur smokes that naturally emits from its sulfur-rich soil. So it's just some really interesting geological phenomenon. Then we'll head out to the Beaufort Sea. We're going to navigate our way through the sea ice. That is something that is a beautiful sight to see, and we might see some polar bears. This is my own polar bear picture I took in 2023 when we were in Svalbard. Absolutely amazing things to see there. And we're also going to go to Prudhoe Bay, and that's where we transition from being in Canada to in the United States. So we're heading on westward to Nome. We're going to hug along the seacoast. There could be some opportunities to visit some things, maybe Point Hope, Little Diomede, King Island in Alaska, just depending on the locals' permission to visit. And then we get off the ship in Nome. We take a charter flight. We say goodbye to our expedition team. Then we take a charter flight to Anchorage, where we stay at the Captain Cook Hotel. Captain Cook Hotel. I said Captain Cook. Captain Cook Hotel. And then the next day you're off to fly home from there, from Anchorage. Now, really quickly, do I have time? I am going to zip through this because I know your time is valuable and you want to get to what your investment's going to be to take this trip. But I want to share some of our personal photos from the Sylvia Earle when we did Svalbard. So I'm going to zip through this really quick. There's the beautiful ship, glaciers on a foggy day, glaciers on a sunny day. Absolutely gorgeous. Scenery. This is the type of scenery we're going to see in the Northwest Passage. Just absolutely beautiful. There are many glaciers in some of the areas and high or Arctic desert in some other areas. When you look out on the sea ice, you'll see things like this. These are walruses hauled out. This is a blue whale and a beluga whale that we saw in Svalbard. Very amazing experience. And Aurora just did such a good job of getting us up close to these animals. Now I took these with long lenses, but still it was close enough. There's me doing the polar plunge, and my little tip is to wear a life jacket, because then you don't go so far in the water. You pop right up. So I was afraid I was going to forget how to swim. So I was glad to have the life jacket on. I didn't forget how to swim, but I liked it better than tethered, which I did with another company. We talked about the evening barbecue. This was so much fun. Everybody got a crazy hat. And we had some glue wine, we had regular wine, we had amazing barbecue food. We did it on the sunniest, warmest day. You can see we're all still kind of bundled up, but it was fantastic. What is your food going to be like when you're on that ship? Amazing food, amazing service. The presentation is gorgeous. I mean, look at that dessert with the pineapple ring and those chocolate lollipops. It's just an absolutely amazing experience. And then this, I wanted to show you, for those who've never been on a Zodiac, what the process is for getting on with Aurora. Their side door, you walk right out of that mudroom onto the Zodiac, and you just take a hand. It is very easy to get on and off the Zodiacs. There's our amazing expedition team from our Svalbard trip. Absolutely wonderful. We did feel like family at the end of that cruise. And I'll share this story really quickly. There was a young man who was about 14. He had a slight learning disability, and he said that at home, the kids picked on him all the time. He said when he grew up, he wanted to work for Aurora Expeditions. And the reason he said is because everybody was so nice to me all week. He was so happy, and he had the best time. He was there with his grandparents, and what a treat for this young man to see all the spectacular sights and to have that amazing life-changing experience. It was wonderful for him, and we all had a chance to talk to him, and he really enjoyed it very, very much. And here's a summary of our experience. We love the fact that you're fully immersed in the destination. Other cruise lines will carry 300 passengers, and they can only disembark 100 at a time. Aurora has 120 or fewer. Some of them are on the kayaks, so that means everybody else can get in the Zodiacs and go at the same time. You don't have staggered landings. So you might have the long walkers get off first, and the medium walkers get off next, and the short walkers get off last. But everybody gets to stay in the destination as long as they want, and it really is immersive. The Zodiac rides are never cut short. It's like, oh, it's lunchtime, we better go back to the ship. It's not like, oh, we did our 45 minutes, now we got to go back and pick up the other people that are waiting to go. So that's the wonderful thing. We are amazed by the Arctic wildlife and scenery, and I can just wholeheartedly recommend to you Aurora Expeditions. They are amazing. So now we're going to get to the pricing. This is not inexpensive. Hopefully, before you guys signed up for this, we did put some of the pricing on our webpage so you would kind of get an idea. This is a trip of a lifetime, a bucket list destination. And we understand that this is a big investment, and you want to make sure you're doing it with the right company and you're getting the experience that you want. So we are here to answer any questions, go into any kind of details, research anything for you. So for the Superior French balcony cabin, that is going to have a window that lowers down and it creates a little like French balcony. Those are 38,000 and change per person. That's what they look like. They're beautiful, beautifully appointed. You're going to be very comfortable in there. Okay, and then we still have availability for the walkout balconies. They're just a little bit under 40,000, a little bit more than 40,000 per person. And again, we understand that this is a big investment. This is not something you're like, oh, on a whim, I'm going to go on this. You really want to make sure that this is the right expedition for you. I personally recommend it wholeheartedly, but again, I want to talk with you and make sure that this is what you want to do and it's going to work for you. There are still some suites available. So if you really want to splurge and have some of those wonderful 2-room suites, they're available. And if you want to have this experience, but that $40,000 price point is just a little too much for you, the Greg Mortimer ship is doing a slightly abridged version of this. You start off in Nuuk, you go to Illiset, you do the Northwest Greenland, Pond Inlet. You're going to go up to the city, but you're going to end in Cambridge Bay and you're going to disembark there. So you don't go all the way to Nome. And your charter flight takes you back to Calgary. So again, another place that's very easy to fly to from the US. And there's the pricing for that. That's kind of the basic pricing. I'm more than happy to work up a full quote for either one of these options for anybody who's interested. So now here's our special. We are offering anybody who books Northwest Passage an extra $100 onboard credit that you can use for anything you want to purchase. Now, beer and wine, and I forgot to cover this, beer and wine are included with your dinner. And they have generous pours, and it's very good wine because they're an Australian company. So, and then any drinks that you buy outside of that time are going to be at your own cost, but they're very reasonably priced. So that onboard credit could go to defer some of that. But here's the big thing. We don't want you to feel nickeled and dimed. So if you book this Northwest Passage or any Arctic cruise with us by January 31st, gratuities are going to be on us. We're going to pick up your gratuities. So we're giving you some onboard spending money and we're covering your gratuities. Now, just so you know, we have a vast portfolio of what we do. So I'm going to cover really quickly. We've got Antarctica in 2 ways. In 2026, we've got scenic sailing only. So, if walking around with the penguins isn't your thing, we can put you on a ship where you can see the scenery. But we'd really love for you to join us on the Greg Mortimer. You can see the price point is slightly more approachable. And we're having a webinar tomorrow night on the Antarctica. So contact us if you're interested in attending or learning more about that. Here is our itinerary. It's February 21st. And it's in 2026. So you have almost a year to prepare for this, or a little bit over a year. And we're going to actually cross the Antarctic Circle. So our plan is to go all the way down to this point of the peninsula and actually cross the circle. So that's going to be incredible. It's round trip out of Ushuaia, and I can help with all the logistics of getting you to Buenos Aires and then to Ushuaia. So we're super excited about that. There's the pricing. We are no longer holding an allocation like we were when we first took out this group. There's a look at the beautiful rooms on that ship. Again, Greg Mortimer and Sylvia Earle are sister ships, beautiful ships. But if you call me and you want a quote on Antarctica, I can confirm what's available at time of booking because we no longer have an allocation. So, what was available yesterday could be different than what's available tomorrow. Let's see. We've got, for somebody who wants a little more softer adventure, we've got a 28-night Alaska on Holland America. No Zodiacs on Holland America. We've got a 7-night Iceland intensive on Celebrity. Again, this is the floating resort type of experience. Different, again, very different from Aurora. We also do wine lovers cruises in the Caribbean with Celebrity. We've got a fantastic one in March of 2026 with 4 onboard complimentary wine tasting experiences. Scandinavian capitals with Holland America, amazing, beautiful historic cities that you can visit with them. And then we also have some escorted river cruises. We've got Avalon in Bordeaux. We've got Ama in Gems of Southeastern Europe, Budapest to Bucharest. And then we're doing Avalon again, Romantic Rhine, Amsterdam with Lucerne and Lake Como. We also do some small ship cruising in the Mediterranean. We've got something on Windstar and something on Azamar. So again, we have a little bit of everything. But I know you all came to learn about this. I really encourage you to take a leap of faith and do this. It is going to be absolutely an amazing experience. You will see and experience things that will be life-changing. You will look back at this and go, like I was in Svalbard, this is the most incredible experience of my life. And to be one of the few to do that Northwest Passage, when you understand the history of how long it was sought after, the climate is changing, it is a little warmer, there's a little less ice, so it's passable now. So, it's a great chance to see this beautiful area of the world from a little bit different perspective. So call me. I'm going to be available tomorrow. I can do a complete quote, put a cabin on hold for you for your consideration. Again, we've got that $100 per person onboard credit. We have a low price guarantee, and the gratuities are going to be on us, so you won't have to worry about the cost of the gratuities. Of course, you will get our personalized concierge service and a personalized consultation. Again, big investment. I want to make sure that this is the right cruise for you. So if you give me a call tomorrow and want to talk about it, I am willing to spend as long as you want to talk about all the questions and answers and what you need to know before embarking on this kind of cruise. We'd love for you to join us. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to any questions or comments or
Well, first I want to add that
anything you wanted to add?
we did record this, so later on tonight you'll get an email from us just thanking you for attending, and it will include a link to the recorded webinar. So if you want to watch the webinar again or specific sections you want to look over again, you'll be able to completely go through it at your own pace and everything.
Yeah, or if you have a friend or family member who you think this would just be their cup of tea, and within their budget, please share it with them. This is absolutely going to be an amazing experience. We are so excited that we booked this, and we're like, we got to get some people to come with us, because it's so much more fun when you share it with clients and friends. And I know after 29 days, all those 120 people are going to be our new best friends. So we're very excited about that.
Julia, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone, and thank you, Suzanne and Steve. And to leave you with one thing, the best way to remember Aurora is the little star in our logo, because we truly deliver experiences that will leave you with stars in your eyes, and you'll want to come back for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a tremendous experience, and we have sailed with almost every cruise line out there, and we just think for polar expeditions, there's no better choice than Aurora. So we are super excited to be doing this, and want to encourage anybody who's interested to join us, ask questions, find out, give us a call. We're happy to ask questions.
Let's put it out there now. If anybody has any questions, mute yourself and go ahead and ask a question or make a comment, whatever you like. Maybe not.
Well, we've got something in the chat. Let me look at that. Let me see if I can show the chat. Kat says, very interesting. Somebody said the laptop's going to die soon. She might not make it to the whole presentation. So it's all good. It's all good. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.